Yeah. Welcome, Raya, to episode 12 of the podcast.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me.
You're
I feel
welcome.
like this was a long time in the
Right?
making.
We finally got it done.
Finally.
Yeah, for those tuning in, today we have Raya Halet, who's a podcast host of her own podcast called They Say It Takes a Village. So yeah, maybe we can start by just explaining how you got into that, what's your podcast all about, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper into that.
I was going to say too, just before we were recording, like this is like literally on the hot seat. I feel like I'm going to ask you the questions and I'm scared I might. No, yes,
Role
thank
reversal.
you so much. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so the podcast, They Say It Takes a Village. I mean, it was based on, there is a African proverb called It Takes a Village to Raise a Child.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm a mom of two boys who are absolutely gorgeous. God bless them.
Adorable boys, yeah.
But they are abundant in energy. And just to take you all the way back, how the podcast kind of started, I think I know. I got COVID, and my littlest child was about just turned one.
Yep.
And I got COVID, and I just thought, okay, it was just that time, when the second wave, when everyone got it.
Sure.
So we were still in, you have COVID, you need to go into isolation.
Yep.
So I thought, my God, what do you mean 3 days on my own? Like by myself, what am I going to do? So I was obviously at home, sort of in my room with not much to do. And my husband was looking after the kids and all of that. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, I've got a bit of time. The little one is, after when they turn one, I find it's quite significant.
Sure.
You maybe stop breastfeeding and, you're onto like a bit of a routine, that sort of shell shock of the newborn sort of eases.
Right.
So then I kept thinking to myself, like, I know I've got more to give. I want to be able to do something else. And I thought, okay, we could potentially try to open up something. And I thought, no, that's a bit too difficult. I don't even know where to start.
Sure.
Then I thought to myself, I'm like, what do I do, honestly, on a daily basis? And what that was is listen to podcasts. And I remember thinking, okay, how hard is it?
Yeah.
3 years down the line, it's not that easy.
Yeah.
But the whole point of the podcast, it's sort of when I was thinking about, number one, what to name it, what's it going to be about, how to go about it, I just thought to myself, I remember when my first son, Laith, was born. Me and my husband were one of the first people in our social circle to have a baby.
Right.
So we didn't really have many people to ask questions. I mean, who is a good pediatrician?
Yeah.
Where do we go when your baby needs something, a lactation consultant, somebody for, a female physio, something like that.
Yeah.
I had no idea where to go.
Right.
And I remember one time about 3:00 in the morning, I was sitting trying to breastfeed my baby and thinking, okay, this is not working. I need some help.
Sure.
I put on a podcast, and there was, it's called the Boob Group. I really loved it. It was such a good podcast. It was kind of like taking you through steps to latch a baby and actually get your breastfeeding journey on the way.
Sure.
And I put that on, and I really truly benefited from that episode.
Awesome.
And then it ended, and I still had so many questions. These people are based in, I don't know where, the States or something, and it's not like Zoom was a thing back 7 years ago.
Right.
So I kind of was just like, so eventually podcasts were something that I was using as a tool to help me parent.
Right.
Anything I didn't know, I would kind of like search for it.
Good for you.
And put it in, listen to it. Hopefully it would have been relevant, and would try to kind of, whether you're weaning a baby or what solids to introduce and all that kind of stuff. Then let's say, again, fast forward, 3 years later, the time that I had COVID, I sat there and I thought it would be so nice to be able to have a platform or a group of people, or like a directory of people that are only based in the UAE that parents can listen to for a full hour. And when the episode ends, they can actually give them a call and connect with them.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So that was the whole point. Again, I always say this, and I'm 40 now, so the yellow pages were a thing when I grew up. So that's what you would get. You'd get yellow pages per household, and you can kind of look up services and people and whatever it is in your area.
Right.
So technically, the village is the UAE.
Right.
and I'm just trying to bring it together.
Good for you.
And
Good
it
for
was
you.
just it's almost impossible to solo parent.
Right.
It's actually impossible. I don't know
Oh,
who
yeah,
does
for
it.
sure.
Whoever does it, God bless you, because it is not something that anyone can do really successfully.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't have kids myself, but I hear from all my friends,
Yeah.
you need more than just two people to take care of the whole situation.
Yeah.
And here in Dubai, everybody's getting night nurses and house
Absolutely.
nannies and things
Yeah.
like that. And like you said, all the help you can get
Yeah.
really does take a
It
village.
takes a village.
Yeah.
And then it's morphed. Obviously, my kids are getting a bit older, so subjects are getting a bit more serious.
Right.
Women's health, looking after ourselves
Sure,
as
of
mothers,
course.
as fathers,
Yep.
has all kind of become incorporated
Of course,
into
which
the
we'll
podcast.
get into. Yeah, for sure.
So it's a really lovely development of where when I first started till now.
Yeah.
Again, it's not as I always think everyone's like, oh, it needs to be faster, hard. This is as much as I can do.
Good for you.
2 episodes, a month, and
That's more than I do for sure.
no, but a lot of the times I always find, gauging the metric of success.
Yeah.
And I remember when somebody messaged me saying, I listened to your podcast with so and so, and then I made an appointment. I connected with them, and I thought, job well done.
Awesome. Yeah.
That
there you
was
go.
the whole point.
Absolutely.
So that's where we are now.
Good for you.
Just
I didn't know
trying to
people can
connect.
call you after your episodes.
Well, not me.
Okay.
So just obviously no, I have nothing to offer you.
Okay. I thought it was
but
you. Okay.
It would be the person who I'm interviewing. So
Oh, right.
let's say I've interviewed somebody who is a women's health physiotherapist.
Got it.
So you'll know exactly where they'll be working, who to call, and the name to request for.
Okay.
And the thing is, I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, well, why am I listing that? I mean, you can go on Google and look up, physiotherapist in Dubai.
Right.
There really is something special with listening to somebody talk for an hour.
Absolutely.
And once you listen to them, are you vibing with that person?
Exactly.
Do you want to make an appointment? Do you need their help?
100%.
That type of thing. It almost acts as like a little bit of reassurance that whoever you kind of get a bit of an intro.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just find in a world where things are pushed on you,
Right.
this is quite passive.
Yeah.
You can pick and choose whoever you want to listen to, and if it works for you, it does, and if it doesn't, move on.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives you like a glimpse into their vibe, into how they get along with things, and then like you said, you can pick and choose whether you want to go along with this person or not.
Yeah. So we have evolved. You can see there is a natural progression because there's a lot of like baby stuff and then toddler things and then school age and then a little bit of teenage and then it's now slowly becoming into a lot of women's health. I feel like you can clearly tell it's my interest at the moment.
Sure. No, but that's awesome because I think like you said, putting out a podcast that will be able to help people in whatever domain it may be, I think is fantastic.
No, thank you so much.
Of course.
Likewise, exactly what you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. No, well done.
But thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, so what would you say, diving into a couple of the topics we have today, starting off with like the biggest challenges. Obviously, you've been a parent for how many years now? 7 years now?
Feels like 20 now. Just joking.
What would you say, some of the biggest challenges that you've personally faced and that you've experienced from maybe friends or peers or your podcast guests or whoever the case may be?
I think it's honestly, it's like peeling back an onion. There are so many challenges.
Right.
And I think parenting challenges, it happens honestly stage by stage. I think the overarching one is the fact that, again, a lot of us, touch wood, thank God my family lives here, but a lot of us either working here or sort of based here have, I guess, we don't have people around us as much as we should.
Absolutely.
But again, I think it goes for all societies, not just the UAE, for example.
Right.
I think the urbanization of the world has taken us out from our core and center little tribe. So parents are technically taking on more than they should, which is just adding this load that is, whether it's invisible or real, it's become so hard to manage.
Right.
And I think that in itself should be really looked at on not just, these conversations are great, but just to kind of understand, from a policy point of view, I'm not anyone to talk about policy, but just to help out parents.
Sure.
a little bit more. It is, I have to say, without really going on about it, it is the hardest job in the world.
Absolutely.
It doesn't stop. You don't take a break. You even when they are sleeping, you're thinking about it. It is not something that should be taken lightly.
Of course.
And no matter what, the help and the support needs to be at, sort of in the center.
Absolutely.
And I find that that's probably the hardest. And of course, there are other things that, things like, again, I'm going to throw it in there. Social media is quite a difficult one, I guess, for parents, especially new parents. And I mean, new parents, old parents, any parent,
Right.
anyone, because there is so much this constant comparison.
Sure.
What this person is doing compared to what I'm doing, or
Yep.
at that stage, what that child should be doing in comparison to my child.
Yep.
It's an added layer of extra stress and shit. Sorry,
Absolutely.
can I
Yeah, no,
say
of
that?
course, yeah.
That people don't need.
Right.
You're as it is. You're honestly fumbling in the dark,
Yeah.
hoping that you're getting it right. You don't need,
The
Susie,
additional. Yeah.
telling you, at this age, your child should be walking, talking, and writing a thesis. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's not going to work.
Right.
You know what I
No,
mean? And I
absolutely.
find that puts a lot of pressure. Whereas, let's say, remove the social media. And I also, to caveat that, I think social media is a wonderful tool.
Of course.
So
Can
I
be.
think it's just to be mindful.
Yep.
But remove it. Who did you have to compare with? Or should you have a concern, you'd go and see a proper person
Sure.
that will help you properly in that concern. So I find that just adds this sort of undercurrent of pressure,
Yeah, of course.
and then obviously, I mean,
It's almost like you're getting bombarded with unsolicited advice
Constantly.
all the time.
And, okay,
and it makes
yes.
you doubt yourself. Like, am I doing this right? Should I be doing like something else? And like you said, like it doesn't really come with an instruction manual.
No.
Not that I have kids, but I've seen it all along. And this
Yeah.
is a topic that I'm personally a little bit interested in, parent-child psychology,
Yeah.
which again, we'll get into a little bit later on. So it's not like people have a instruction manual on how things are going to play out. And then you're sort of like winging it / scrambling to get things done and trying to learn from whichever sources that you feel resonate best with you and your child or your children,
100%.
right?
100%. And I think that's exactly what you said. Whatever resonates with you and your child.
Yeah.
And I think, again, we all, sleep deprived, tired, frazzled,
Yeah.
so much responsibility. The invisible load and the physical load is sometimes quite mounting. And
Yeah.
again, throw in things like a bit of social media here and there. If it's not making you feel good, honestly, you're just doing yourself a disservice.
100%.
And I think that's the tricky part of parenting at the moment. I was sitting having a conversation with my mom. And it was actually on a podcast. I had her on an episode.
Oh, nice.
And I asked her, I'm like, what were challenges back in your day?
Yeah.
Now, she obviously, as an Iraqi, was trying to acclimatize after war.
Right.
So that was her challenge.
Right. Right.
But she also said that was a bit easier than what you guys have to do today.
Interesting.
Isn't it?
I would have thought otherwise.
Right?
Yeah.
She said we sort of put our heads down, almost huddled together as a family. And it was us. We didn't have this constant expectation, constant comparison, constant, am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? Do I have to be a perfect mother? I have to be a perfect wife. I have to be a perfect podcaster, employee. No, you're
Right,
not.
right.
You're never going to be you're not perfect, full stop.
Sure.
So it's just that expectation. And I think we do, no matter how much we say we don't glorify it, we do
Yeah.
slightly.
Sure.
And I think that is quite difficult to deal with.
No, absolutely. But it's very interesting that, you pointed it out that back in the day, there was no comparisons. There was no, looking left and right. It was just you and your kids.
You and your kids, your
that's
neighbor,
it.
you might be friends with them and
Exactly.
their neighbor, but you don't really care about what they're doing. You don't know
Yeah.
what's going on in their homes. And now you're getting a glimpse of people's intricate everyday life.
Absolutely.
And like I said, social media is also a wonderful tool to connect with people. There's been such incredible human beings that I've
Right.
met so far that
Right.
with my little introduction to
Yeah.
it, but it can also be quite detrimental.
Overwhelming. Yeah.
And
100%.
overwhelming. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's about finding the balance and the fine line between it being
Oh, the
useful
balance. Oh,
and
the
putting
word.
boundaries with it.
Oh, that word. Yeah. The balance.
But yeah, I mean, which brings us to our next point, which is the importance of actually taking care of yourself, or doing the inner work, or maybe doing some healing work, and how that can not only help you as a parent and your partner as well, but also how that can trickle down and help your children's upbringing as well.
Yeah.
Because I see it all the time, when people are, say, like burnt out or stressed out, even though they don't mean it, that might end up trickling down onto the children, right? So if you're not regulated and your nervous system is a little bit
100%.
in fight or flight mode or whatever the case may be, and then you snap at your kid by mistake or you say something you shouldn't have said. So yeah, maybe we can touch a little bit on the importance of doing some work on yourself, whether it be therapy or meditate or whatever the case may be.
Look, I'm a huge advocate of that.
Yeah.
I think kids are born a complete clean slate,
Yep,
and we shape them.
absolutely.
That's one of my
I think,
biggest
Raya,
fears.
most people don't appreciate how much of a factor and an impact your two parents have on your life.
100%.
It's not like, oh, it's like a small factor
No,
or
dude.
like a medium
You're
factor.
the main thing.
It is like
Star of the show.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Like it sets the foundation for you and the rest of your
100%.
life, right? Your personality, the way, obviously you can change things down the line, but it sets a huge foundation for that. The way you view yourself and the world as a whole.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. When they come into the world, they know nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They know nothing. I mean, obviously there's genetics and things like that, but now you've been given this baby without any predisposition to anything.
Yeah.
We come in as the responsible adults, which again, 7 years in, I still don't feel that responsible.
Yeah.
How could they have given me a little baby 7
Right.
years ago and
Right.
said, here you go?
Yeah.
So
But it's good that you have that humility, Raya, to acknowledge that, you don't have it all figured out, because a lot of people do, and then maybe, refuse to learn or grow and say, no, I got this figured out. I know what to do. And then just push that on.
Yeah.
So
I think it's also good to admit that to your children.
Yeah.
The other day I was in the car and he said something, my son, like, Mom, why can't you do this and that and the other? And I'm like, Laith, I'm just not perfect, my
Yeah.
love. I can't. I'm a human being.
yeah.
And I think that's what it is. I think it's just the importance of, I think, recognizing my biggest fear is to pass on something that I don't like about myself
Absolutely.
to my kids.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, sometimes it's completely unconscious.
Most of the time it is actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the scary part,
Yeah.
to actually take a step back, which again, it's so much harder sort of said than done. I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of parents are listening like, oh, okay, yeah, when you're in a rage, you've got one having a meltdown, the other one's doing something else.
Right.
It gets really overwhelming. But
Sure.
it is, honestly, there comes a point where you do have to take a step back, adjust that, or at
Right.
least if you didn't adjust it then, have it in the back of your mind, adjust it moving forward
Absolutely.
if you can.
Yeah.
And I think just being able, finding something that, I'll tell you my definition of self-care, which again, I also don't love that,
Sure.
that term. Anything that you do that is guilt-free. So for me, self-care is this, having a conversation here. Self-care is going to the gym. I love it.
Sure.
I've been doing it for a really long time. That was the way for me to kind of de-stress when I was at university.
Yeah.
And I kept it up. I find if you just identify something that is guilt-free, but it's for you and your betterment, whether it's having a conversation, with somebody that you find super interesting, whether
Right.
it's, going and speaking to a therapist, whether it's going really hard at the gym, whether it's whatever it might be. I think finding an activity that's not going to add to your load is so important.
Absolutely.
And if you go into that activity and you don't feel guilty about it and you walk out, you're feeling a little bit more, you've got a pep in your step, you know that that's good for you.
Absolutely.
The moment you do an activity and you can't stop thinking or feeling guilty, you walk out of there feeling worse than you walked in, you're not ready,
Sure.
or it's just not meant to be. That's the way I approach it for myself.
Right.
But again, things like therapy, I'm all for. I think everybody should get a therapist.
Absolutely.
I'm yet to get into it, but I want to.
Yeah.
I think I was quite sort of open with having postnatal anxiety with my second.
Sure.
And I should have seen a therapist back then. But I just didn't. I don't know why. But
Yeah.
again, I must have felt that would have just added on to my responsibilities that I felt so stretched at the time.
Right.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but that was the, I think, again, self and giving yourself a little respite as a parent is not just crucial, it's honestly life-saving.
Absolutely.
And I
For
think
sure.
I
It's
think
beneficial for you, your partner,
100%.
and your children, right?
And again, it doesn't have to be my Tuesday massage. It doesn't have to be something that's quite rigid. I think as flexible as possible.
Right.
But to work it in there, something that's not
absolutely.
going to stretch you or overburden you or make you feel
Absolutely.
guilty.
Absolutely.
Again, something that you're going to walk out of there thinking, that was really good.
Yeah, 100%. I think you need to fill your own cup first
Yeah.
sometimes before you can pour out of it.
Yeah,
You know, and like
definitely.
on the airplanes, they tell you to
Yeah,
put your
your
oxygen
own-
mask before.
yeah.
It's kind of the same thing, right?
Absolutely,
And there's a reason why
absolutely.
they say that, because if you're not doing well, then nobody around you can do well either.
And I think, again, when it comes to parenting, that the kindness to yourself
Yeah.
goes a long way.
Yeah,
I think to understand that some days are going to be harder than others.
yeah,
You know, understanding that your sort of your best laid plans may completely go out the window.
yeah,
And I think just being okay with that.
sure.
I'm very much a type personality. I like schedule. I was in here 20 minutes early.
Yeah.
You know, I feed off that. I feel like it organizes my life. But
Sure.
that's something that I've had to kind of just accept that some days are not going to be like that. And that's okay.
Right.
And if that whatever it is didn't happen on that day, you will get to it. So
Yeah.
just take it easy.
Yeah, 100%.
Take it easy on yourself, and it's you're in it for the long haul. It's not
100%.
sort of short-term gains
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then whatever state that you're in, I feel like if you're stressed out or you're burnt out or you're anxious or you're flustered or frustrated, whatever the case may be, your children do absorb that energy. They feel it much more than you
100%.
know they feel it, right?
100%. You know,
Yeah.
the thing is, you've got people, little human beings that are observing your every facial expression, everything
Even
that
your
you
energy,
say,
like just the
your
energy.
even when you're driving,
Yeah.
anything,
Yeah.
you have a constant little audience.
Yeah.
And I get it. Look, I mean, again,
Like a
that-
sponge.
It's a
just-
sponge. It's
yeah.
frustrating because
Yeah.
you just can't let loose.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like I can sit there and say, like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Or, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But also at the same time, it's quite endearing
Yeah.
because they've got nobody else. I want them
Yeah.
to look up to me.
Sure.
And I want them to be able to get what I put out into the world, which
Yeah.
hopefully, I would say 80% of the time it's good.
Right.
But, I don't want to screw them up.
Mm.
So I do want to be a good parent. It
Yeah.
is my responsibility.
Yeah.
I owe them that much.
100%.
There are days where I'm not so good, and there are
Right.
days where I'm really wonderful.
Right. But like you said, you need to be compassionate.
This is
towards
it.
yourself. Yeah.
So you have to just, I don't know, it's a big mix. Just
Yeah.
as long as most days are good, you're good to go.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and coming back to our point, I mean, the importance of doing that work on yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you're coming in, like a lot of parents do, right? So a lot of parents say maybe get children when maybe they're not ready to, or whatever the case may be. So whatever
Oh, you're
they're
never ready.
Yeah, well, yeah,
You're
that's
never
what I
ready.
hear. You'll never be ready.
Yeah.
But if you're carrying a lot of say previous stressors or trauma or whatever the case may be, if it's still in the dark and if you're not conscious or aware, you will subconsciously pass all of that stuff onto your children, right?
100%.
There's an expression that says if you don't face your shadow self, or if you don't do any like shadow work or whatever, that will be passed on to your children, right?
Absolutely.
And that's why I think it's so important to do some sort of, like you said, self-care or inner work or healing in order to not pass that on to your children subconsciously, right? Nobody wants to pass it on,
Of course.
but it will be passed on
Yeah.
because it's so subconscious, right?
It's definitely something I need to get into. I feel like 2026 is the year of the therapist. So guys, hit
Do it.
me up.
Yeah, if you need one, let me know.
Yeah. I think the thing is, I always think about it this way. You get your car serviced, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You go in for a health
Yeah.
check.
Oh, for sure. Therapy's changed my life.
But you need a check-in.
Yeah.
And husbands and mothers and fathers and sisters, they're wonderful.
Yeah.
They're so biased.
Yeah.
Though.
For sure.
So I think as we get older, and again, I'm speaking from a 40-year-old perspective, I feel like going into this stage of my life, raising children,
Yeah.
approaching, we're talking the perimenopause and
Yeah.
I want somebody to guide me through
Yeah.
weirdness.
Yeah, 100%.
So I need that number.
Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
pass it to you for sure.
It's definitely something that I've procrastinated a little
Yeah.
bit. I keep putting the excuse of, I'm just too busy.
Yeah.
I'm just too busy. I'm going to find the time. And
Yeah.
I'm sure I can.
No, for sure. And Rhea, honestly, it'll help you so much. It'll
Yeah.
help your children so much. And why wouldn't you want that, right? If it
Absolutely.
lowers your stress levels in whatever way it can, then that's always a bonus.
Absolutely.
And then just getting into things like parent-child psychology. There's so many things. Again, I'm not a parent, but I'm very like fascinated by the whole subject. And there's so many things that maybe we were things that were done to us when we were kids that we thought, okay, this is normal.
Yeah.
And then I'm starting to learn now, like, okay, that totally was not normal, right? What we thought as acceptable it was just widespread and normal is really quite dysfunctional, you know?
These, again, it's, you know, inherent, I would say, I don't want to say trauma, but just behaviors that may not necessarily.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be trauma.
Yeah.
Could just exactly, behaviors. So like scolding or
shaming,
spanking.
Spanking.
Even the
like
way you discipline or quote unquote punish children, you know, may have been very normal for us maybe growing up, or at least for me, that's for sure.
My parents took it easy on me, but there were a few things I, you know, sort of said to them, guys, do you remember when you said this to me? Yeah.
Very selective memory when it comes to this.
Like, no, of course not.
That never happened, you know, pure gaslighting. Yeah.
No, I know. It's definitely, it's there. The thing is, I'm always afraid. Like, I feel like I'm pretty sure, I don't know. Let me ask you, do you think our parents were thinking, I don't want to pass some of the shit that their parents had given?
I mean, I don't think so a lot of our parents' generations weren't that self-aware. And like you said, they grew up like in war-torn areas, or at least my parents between like Lebanon, and they were just stressed out about, you know, surviving. Yeah, literally. Yeah. So they were literally in survival mode. Yeah. And that's like a state that your nervous system can be in, which is literally fight or flight mode all the time, right? And when you're in that state for so long, you naturally get very stressed out. You resort to like maladaptive coping mechanisms, right? So a lot of or at least my parents used to, you know, smoke a lot and be on edge. So subconsciously pass on that stress, that anxiety. And then, like you said, they didn't have resources on parenting and parent-child psychology and YouTube and podcasts. So they're doing what their village neighbors taught them or what their parents taught them, right? Which was, now we're talking, our grandparents are like in the 1920s or 30s or whatever the case may be. They were just winging it, basically, right? Yeah. So it really takes that, you know, self-awareness to realize like, okay, hey, I was raised like this, but maybe I don't want to raise my kids like this, right? If I was scolded at, maybe that's not the best way to discipline them or to make them understand, right? I'm just throwing things out there, right? Again, I'm not a parent, but I'm just fascinated by the whole subject.
I think there are obvious ones that parents obviously shouldn't take away from the previous generation. Things like, you know, shaming and spanking and all that kind
mocking,
of
ridiculing.
Sort of that type, ridiculing and things like that,
comparing,
belittling and things like that.
Comparing siblings with each other.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think we are aware, sometimes a little too aware. I think, again, we're so quick to, you know, try to correct. You know, you want to correct, but don't lose sight. I think at the moment, our biggest issue is the actual present, being present.
100%.
Aside from the distraction.
Yes.
So I always think, is this my crutch? My parents could have been the scolding and things like, is this my issue that I'm passing on?
Exactly.
That they may not feel as present. I really felt quite present with my mom and my dad. They had no other distraction. It was just us. Yeah. You know, but whereas now, no matter, yes, I am present, but so my phone rings. I'm going to pick it up. Back in the day, the phone rang and it's like connected to the wall. You have a quick conversation and you put it down. Right. It's not in my back pocket. Sure. To check my WhatsApp while we're playing Uno. Right. Or, you know, so I think generational stuff that you can pass on to your children, it changes. So I think our generational issues, honestly, is not being present enough.
Absolutely.
And
we're full of distractions nowadays, right? Like you said, your phone, the TV's on.
And I'm not saying I'm going to sit full on scroll.
No, I know.
But it's still not that concentrated. And it's almost, I feel like I'm almost incapable of doing it. Right. You know, if you WhatsApped me and I was just about to play, I don't know, charades or something, I would look at my WhatsApp and answer you back. Right. Sometimes I don't, sometimes I do. Sure. And I think That's our issue. Our issue is that we are not as present. And again, I don't mean to sort of call parents out and be like, you should put your phone away the moment you get back in the house. No, it's completely normal. This is just life.
Right.
It's impossible now. So we just have to somehow find a happy medium.
Yeah.
And not completely shut them down and really feel. I'm so worried that they will feel like they need they need to be in constant performative attention mode because they need to grab my attention.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. They
So
need
that's
to earn that attention.
Exactly. Because I've got my phone and I'm like, oh, hold on a sec.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's, I find when it comes to passing stuff down from, parent to child as the generations go, I do find it does correct in certain areas and it does amplify in others.
Right.
And I think in our generation, the distraction is
for sure. No, I think that's a great point. I mean, being present, whether you have children or not, actually, is one of the biggest issues people face nowadays. People are living in their mind, right? Their mind is scattered, thinking of the past, worrying about the future, right? Very few of us are actually present in the room right now without much distraction in our thoughts, and we're just in our bodies and very centered, focused, and grounded.
I totally agree.
It's very uncommon nowadays. Our minds are racing like 24/7. And then with all the quick access to like instant dopamine hits, right? We're over caffeinated, we're overstimulated, vapes going around here and there. People's minds are all over the place, right? Social media, doom scrolling, TV, YouTube, this, that, blah, blah, emails, work. Nobody's really present or practicing mindfulness, right?
Absolutely.
And I think, right, ever since I've started doing that, I was the worst at this. I was totally never present, right? I was always on my phone, always like thinking about whatever, thinking about the past, thinking about the future. And then when I started to do some work on myself through like therapy and yoga and meditation, I was living in the mind and I really came back down into my body. And it was game changing for me and everybody around me as well. So you build that presence, you build that mindfulness. And honestly, meditation is, I don't know if you meditate.
No.
Yeah. So 2026, therapy and meditation. I think it's you'll be a different woman, Raya.
What I do, honestly, I feel like I use physical exercise as a form to switch off.
Which is fantastic.
I don't really watch anything. When the weather is better, even in the summer, it's usually outside. I do a lot of running.
Yeah.
There's a gym that has like a window, so I can look outside the window in summer months. But I'm not watching, I'm not scrolling, I'm quite present. Sometimes it's really annoying, when you forget your headphones and you have to just work out no music.
Yeah.
But I don't mind it as much. Sometimes I opt to do it. So I find that I use that a lot. And prayer, honestly, I have like prayer, I feel like it's one of these things that does connect you and does center you, and I do that.
Good for you.
So it's very important.
Absolutely. Any form of like spiritual practice, prayer, meditation, whatever the case may be, can really add a ton of benefit.
100%.
Yeah.
Again, there are days where it's so you truly feel it.
Yeah.
And there are days where you're rushing through it.
Yeah.
And I think, it's just one of those things that I don't know. I feel like I'm just a constant crusader of just be kind to yourself. Yeah. Just take it easy. Don't worry about it.
I mean,
if it didn't work out, it's okay.
Yeah.
Try again tomorrow. It's just the rigidity of you must. I hate that word.
Yes.
You'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. And by the way, Raya, it's good that you have that mindset, right? A lot of people are overly hard on themselves, overcritical of themselves, constantly shaming themselves, criticizing themselves, comparing themselves to other people. It's like, no, like you said, I mean, give yourself some, self-compassion.
And just a little leeway.
Yeah, leeway, exactly. To not be so uptight or rigid about things.
No, I completely agree. And I just think it's necessary. But again, you've got so much external feedback, whether it's positive, negative, whatever it might be. You're only human, the strongest, most, sort of confident person will still feel a little bit shaky. And I think that's, let alone if you're at your most vulnerable,
Yeah, 100%.
So,
and that ties in with like the whole like nervous system regulation thing. So if you're constantly dysregulated, right, and you're stressed out, you can't you can be mindful, you can be present, and you can be creative in the way that you go about raising your children as well, right? You become very rigid, very narrow-minded. I find when my nervous system is out there, I'm just like struggling to be fluid, right?
Absolutely.
And then you start to resort to things like, oh, this should be like this, should be like that, instead of being present and seeing what does the child need for this moment right now,
100%.
which may not be the same every single time.
Definitely not.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all about co-regulation and self-regulation. So with parents, I feel like when you self-regulate, you're able to then pass that and soothe your children. If they're crying, for example, instead of like scolding them for crying or being too loud, you give them a hug, you soothe them, and that's like the co-regulation that they need to then be able to self-regulate themselves when they're older,
100%.
right? And if they don't get that as kids, they won't be able to self-regulate as adults. This is something that I've learned with parent-child psychology.
Yeah.
And then they don't know how to self-regulate, right? And that's why you have a ton of people nowadays
that are teaching you these tools.
Exactly. And the people that don't know how to self-regulate resort to, again, maladaptive coping mechanisms, right? Oh, like this is stressful, give me a drink. This is stressful, give me a vape. That's because they haven't learned to self-soothe or self-regulate because they never received that co-regulation as a child.
It's true, and I think that's where it stems, right? So what you've seen is technically what your default setting is.
Exactly.
It takes a lot of courage and a lot of effort to undo that.
Absolutely. And a lot of self-awareness as well.
Exactly. And I think it's just, again, dysregulation. Sometimes I've obviously we all have stressors and triggers and things like that. What I have started to do is just almost like pinpoint what is it? What's bothering me? Is it, this deadline? Is it that? Is it, something at home? Is it the kids? Once I find it, it's almost like I see it and I'm like, okay, this is what it is. Let's try to just fix or see what is going on. I don't want to say fix, but just to recognize what that is and then just give a minute and then move past it. I think it's, they always talk about the power of the pause.
Yeah.
Just sit with it for a minute.
Absolutely.
Go to the other room if it's too much. If the kids are absolutely driving you crazy, I was told by an incredible conscious parenting coach, you could literally tell them, this is not about you. I'm not mad, but I really need to, for example, do X and I'll be right back.
Interesting. Yeah.
And it's these tools.
Right.
These tools to be able to kind of just get yourself out of a situation where you're just feeling so overwhelmed, but without having to upset anybody, shouting, doing something that you're going to regret.
Absolutely.
And I think it is very important. And I think there is a lot of information out there.
Yeah.
Very helpful information. And then also there's information that you could really do without.
Confusing,
Yeah. So I think dysregulation is probably not just with children, even with adults as a couple.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's with your coworkers. I think if you are, I think it was yesterday, I saw this thing as I was doom scrolling.
Yeah.
Okay. The kids were in bed and I had just that time. It said that, again, I'm not very good and I'm not going to like state anything, but apparently Allah had said that if you are angry, stay quiet. And I was like, when I'm like, give yourself a minute.
Yeah.
Let the anger dissipate. You're not going to sit and lash out at somebody.
Yeah.
Stay quiet. Just give it a minute.
Yeah.
So angry is what ultimately is you're completely dysregulated.
Right.
And you are, not within your calm, whatever, peaceful state.
Yeah.
So just stay quiet for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's so important because then you're choosing to respond instead of reacting.
Correct.
Right. And that's just a great foundation to deal with anything in life is the ability 100%. To pause and respond consciously as opposed to reacting compulsively.
Absolutely. And the thing is, we all do it. I mean, I do it all the time, but I am trying not to. And I think that's trying is a key word.
Yeah.
I think just try not to.
Yeah.
If you get angry really quickly and, 5 out of the 7 days you try not to, I mean, you're doing well. But of
Yeah.
course, if there is like an actual problem, then you should see
Right.
somebody.
What about boundaries? Setting boundaries with children, with yourself, with your partner. How important are boundaries for you? What you've seen as a 7-year-old experienced mother? Yeah, because I mean, I have my own 2 cents on the importance of boundaries for sure.
It's so important.
Yeah.
It's so important. And I think when children are very little, boundaries are non-existent. Because you are their, primary caregiver, especially mothers.
Yeah.
So there are no boundaries. You're holding a child while you're in the bathroom.
Yeah.
There's no physical or mental boundaries. You are
Right.
bound to that child.
Yeah.
As they get a bit older, nice sort of almost boundaries do creep up, and then you kind of
What age do
firm
you
them.
think is
I think
appropriate?
honestly, I feel like I'm feeling it now. So my youngest is 4 and my oldest is 7.
Yeah.
Not to say that you can't implement them earlier, but
Right.
I didn't mind it. Now, boundaries with my husband, that's a separate story. That
Yeah.
starts from day one.
Good. That's good to have. Yeah.
Day one boundaries
Yeah.
as a couple. I
Yes.
think it's only healthy.
Yes.
I think everybody, I'm a huge believer of honestly having roles.
Yeah.
My husband has a role and I have a
Sure.
role.
It's so
Sometimes we
important to
come
have boundaries,
together.
Yeah. And most people think like boundaries are, strict, rigid things to like push somebody away, but actually it's the
No.
complete opposite.
100%.
Because if you're both respecting each other's boundaries, you actually form a much closer, healthier relationship,
And
right?
I think you have to be you need to communicate what they are.
Yeah.
You
Of
can't
course.
expect the other person to know what they are.
It's instrumental to do
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think when it comes to sort of a romantic relationship, boundaries from literally from the word hello
Yes.
needs to be firmly in place. And again, like you said, as your relationship develops and grows, there are obviously flexibility, but core boundaries are something that, it's a hard line, and I really do find that this is how, not touch wood, 10 years down the line, we have managed to kind of show that level of respect to one another.
Awesome.
Especially when times are just all over the place. There is a boundary, please don't cross it, and
Right.
that's about it.
Yeah.
When it comes to kids, I think it does develop over time.
Yeah.
Again, small children, almost, they don't exist. And I think that's okay. And I feel like they need that. They need
Yeah.
this ever-present attachment.
Right.
Again, when it comes to certain things, I think if you explain to children, I don't like this. This makes me feel this. I think that is a boundary.
Yeah.
And then explain, you don't like this. You don't like it when this happens.
Sure.
That is your boundary. And I think it's getting to know one another.
Yeah.
Children technically have boundaries too.
Absolutely.
And
And I think it's so important to respect their boundaries.
Exactly.
Because otherwise they learn that, their wants and
I'm
needs
going to
don't matter.
override.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is not, it goes sort of, it's a very delicate relationship, I find, boundaries with children and their primary caregiver. Because again, kids are inherently, it's just me, which is their survival.
Right.
So if it's only looking at the self, it's quite difficult to recognize another person's boundaries unless you gently place them.
Yeah.
So I find when it comes to children, they need to be slowly worked into your everyday life.
Right.
And definitely when it comes to romantic relationships.
Yeah. Honestly, Raya, with any form of relationship, I find
yeah.
boundaries are so important.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's at work,
Even,
relationships, your children,
Your family members, yeah.
Family is often the most
Toxic.
trickiest. Yeah.
I find that we have no boundaries in my family. We
I'm
step
the
all
same.
over each other.
So I grew up in a family where boundaries were non-existent.
Not a word.
We were so enmeshed and codependent
100%.
on each other. The minute you say like, "Hey, can you step back?" It's like, "Oh, why are you?" It's like they take it offensively.
Copy-paste. And I find that is a very, is it healthy or toxic part of Middle Eastern families?
Yeah, but it's not just Middle Eastern families. I find that in a lot of different cultures, like family is synonymous with codependency and enmeshment, and they just become one moving unit, basically,
True.
with no independent identities or thought. Yeah, you're not allowed to think different
Not
than the
allowed.
herd.
Yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, you're
Absolutely.
the black
Cast
sheep.
out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Like I said, so I grew up in a family where boundaries were not modeled, they were non-existent, and then that's something I struggled with.
Same.
Setting my whole life with coworkers, with bosses, past relationships, family members, everybody, right? Because it was something that wasn't modeled to me, right? And if I was a kid and I had certain preference, it'd be like, ah, yeah, he's just a kid, like whatever, you know. So then you start to think that your needs and wants don't actually matter, right? And then you grow up acting that way into the world.
Yeah. I completely agree with you as a people pleaser.
Yeah. I think we all, you know, well, not all, but a lot of us are grown up, especially I feel like here to, with the people pleasing mentality, right?
I mean, it was always like a yes, for sure. Yes. Yes,
exactly.
I'll do it. Yes.
Somebody else's needs matters more than yours,
100%.
which makes you in turn want to people please because you're raised thinking if I don't people please, they're going to be mad at me and then I'm not going to be loved. I'm not going to be worthy. So people pleasing is actually a subconscious survival tactic, right?
It's so sad.
Yeah, it is. It is sad, you know. And then again, like when I was younger, I'll be people pleasing left and right, and that with no boundaries, being highly empathetic, people pleaser with no boundaries, people will literally, Raya, run you over, right?
Sure.
That's what happened to me in the past. When I used to work in the corporates, I used to be so stressed and burnt out. You know, say my boss would give me more work and this and that, and I would never say no for fear of rejection, right? Same thing with relationships, family members, ex's family members. Everybody would just walk all over me, and because I wasn't standing up for myself, essentially. So I think boundaries are so important.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah, and once you have your boundaries set, then you're able to, you know, feel at peace. Otherwise, you're burnt out, you're highly anxious, you're stressed out, running around. It's not good for anybody.
Yeah, I agree, honestly. And I think, do you think boundaries kind of become more important as you age, though?
Look, I mean, like we were saying earlier, I think it's important to have boundaries at literally every stage of your life. Starting at, well, for me, it didn't start as a kid, but if you can start as a kid, and I see it with parents that are, you know, following the more conscious parenting techniques nowadays, is that they really respect their kids' boundaries, right?
Yeah, I think that's important. I think it's
absolutely.
Really important.
You know, I was just in Bali, and then there was this Australian couple staying at the resort, or actually they were the owners of the resort, and they had these two young daughters. And when the daughters would say something, parents would like absolutely respect it. Just like, oh, okay, sure, that's your decision, you know. I was like, I never got to make decisions when I was like 2 years old, you know. So I think it's very refreshing to see that, right? Because oftentimes as parents, especially if we're, you know, a little bit more egotistic or say narcissistic or whatever the case may be, we believe, or those people believe, that they know what's best for the children more than the children know what's best for them. But it's very funny because children are very in tune with their own needs and their own intuition. Yeah. So they know what they want more than we know what they want most of the time, right? And it's important to, I think, acknowledge that and to honor that and to respect that.
Yeah. 100%. Although there are some times where if I give them leeway, I'm like, you know, I don't want to wear that. Okay. Yeah. You can go put on whatever you want. You come down looking absolutely horrendous. Yeah. I'm going to say, let's rethink that. Yeah,
obviously. So like going back to the balance thing, right?
Fundamentals. I think at the end of the day, they're things that they're comfortable with. Yeah. You know, to ask if a child, are you comfortable with this? Yes. They're not going to really, it's almost like a yes or no. Yeah. It's not a, maybe, let me think, which is what we do. Yes. You know, and I like that simplicity. So that's something that I kind of like do with my kids. Are you comfortable with this? Yes or no? Yeah. It's so easy. Yeah. But when it comes to like, I want pizza, then, you know, jellies on top and milkshake to go with it, I'm going to be like, I don't think that's going to happen.
Absolutely. There's a balance, right?
Yeah, there's a balance. And I think it's, I think boundaries, again, are so intricate. And I think, again, they're so closely tied to how you grew up and your, you know, what you've seen as a child.
What you were modeled as a kid.
Exactly. And I think it's one of those things that it's an ever evolving thing. Yeah. To be able to advocate for yourself is so difficult. But when you do, it's so good and so rewarding. Mm-hmm. And you are your number one priority. You should be. Yep. And I think to be able to kind of put that in practice for a good portion of your life, I think it's very healthy. Yeah,
for sure. It gives you that confidence to navigate the world on your own later on, right? It really makes you your own person, right?
No, it's just at the end of the day, like it's, you know, saying no to things that aren't going to be serving your
Yes.
comfort level, needs,
Yes.
whatever it might be.
Yeah.
You're just saying yes to just please the crowd, or don't do that.
Absolutely.
You know,
And I
it's
find, Rhea, when you say no to things that don't align with you,
Yeah.
some things will fall away, but the things that do align with you then pop up into your life,
sure.
right? But if you're not saying no to the things that you don't want, you're not allowing for that space to bring in the things that do align
true.
with you, right?
It's
So
true.
it's so important to say no when it doesn't resonate for you.
Yeah.
You know, again, as people pleasers, this is something that's difficult for most people to say no. But the minute you start to do that, you'll find that the universe works in very interesting ways.
Yeah, it will just go around.
Absolutely.
It will go around. And I think at the end of the day, you put that positive, you start to prioritize. And I think it's also a mindset shift. So that shift allows you to make choices that are going to be more beneficial to you.
Absolutely. That align with yourself, your soul, that resonate with you. And then
100%.
that's the way you navigate life, basically. So it's so important. The word no is, I've learned, so important.
So important.
Yeah.
My kids say it all
Boundaries,
the time.
no.
So I'm picking it up from them.
Yeah. And then coming back to, kids, let me know what you think about this. But I feel like with parenting, most parents think like, okay, kid knows nothing. I need to teach them everything basically about life. But it's interesting because what I found is that a lot of times I feel like we can learn a lot from children. And this is something most people look over or neglect. But they're coming into life, they have no conditioning, no rigidity,
Blank slate.
blank slates, very playful, very creative, very in tune with the universe if you're into spirituality and all that. And then it's us that come with our rigidity and no, you have to do things like this from our societal conditioning and our rules and our whatever. If you really take a step back and you look at how kids operate, it's just beautiful the way that they do it because, like I said, there's a lot we can learn from them, right? So as parents, I feel like it's important to sometimes take a step back and instead of teaching them something, you can actually learn from them.
Look, I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
I think kids are brilliant.
Yeah.
I think they're so clever.
Yeah.
Like you said, so creative.
Yeah,
the
they're so
imagination,
authentic. They're so unconditioned,
you sort
right?
of, what you see is what you get with a child. And that, again, that level of simplicity is in a world full of bullshit.
Exactly.
You come home and you get that. It is something that
Refreshing.
not just refreshing, it sets your whole life. And that is so wonderful.
Yeah.
Having said that,
Yeah.
we're not enjoying it. Parents aren't enjoying it. We are stressed out.
Exactly. I was just
We
about
are
to say that.
tired,
Yeah.
distracted,
Yes.
overburdened, given so many responsibilities
Overstimulated.
that we're missing that.
Exactly.
I'd love to be able to go home and just be like, let me absorb this beautiful child.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I'm like stressed out from the traffic
Yep.
or the day or work
Yep.
or the podcast or whatever. You know, unfortunately,
Yeah.
this is, you're not being able to sort of tune in at that beautiful higher level
Yes.
because you're worried about day-to-day shit.
Absolutely.
So that's the problem.
I think this goes back to the whole working on yourself sort of thing to be able to be more present
100%.
and mindful, right?
100%.
You can't let stress accumulate. You can't let things go unchecked because then you won't be able to be, like you said, to be able to appreciate that special moment in your life.
It's so true.
Yeah, so important.
And I just think that's where, you know, when they tell you like you're missing it.
Yeah,
You know, I know I'm doing it.
right.
It's not like I'm sitting on my pedestal like, oh, well, you know, when I get home, I just
Yeah.
put my phone in a box and, you know, just absorb my children. No, I'm doing it.
Yeah,
But I know I'm doing it.
yeah. Yeah, at least
So,
you're self-aware.
Yeah, and I know that, you know, Laith or Zane could be telling me something and I'm just kind of there, but a little bit distracted. But unfortunately, something's got to give.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah,
And I just think that learning from your children is such a beautiful, simple luxury
yeah,
at the moment.
yeah.
And I think that's why things like holidays, just holidays as a family,
Yeah.
you know, things like that, just to take every staycation
Yeah.
or something over on a weekend, just to kind of be alone, not cram in this class and that play date. No, just be alone.
Yeah.
Be alone with your kids.
Yeah.
Because after a while, the noise, it starts to impede on whatever is going on.
Yeah. 100%.
So
100%.
that's my take on it. I'd love to be able to kind of bask in their little minds and wisdom, but
Yeah.
sometimes I'm just, dealing with life and
Sure.
ordering the toilet paper,
Yeah.
or, we need to get some sort of school outfit the next day,
Yeah.
or it's like, guys, just give us all a break.
Yeah. 100%.
I hope I represent the majority of parents out there.
No, I mean, this is
Or
what I
it's
hear.
just me.
Yeah,
This is my
what I hear.
therapy session.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But yeah, meditation is
Yeah.
should be on the bucket list. for
Definitely.
sure.
2026.
Yeah. It's funny with meditation. They're like, there's an expression that says everybody should be meditating for half an hour a day. Unless you're really busy, then you should be meditating for an hour a day. And it literally works like that, because meditation calms everything down. And if your mind settles down, your life around you settles down. Because life isn't typically as chaotic as you think it is. It's your mind that's perceiving it that way, because your mind is racing. You calm the mind, you still that down, your life transforms, Raya.
It's true. No,
So
you're right.
meditation, therapy, 2026, and yoga. Those three things will absolutely be game changing.
So I'm going to
They've
hold you
changed
now.
my
You're going to
life.
be accountability coach. I need to
Done.
get it done.
Done.
No, it's definitely something I need to get into for sure.
But yeah, I think that's all the time that we have today, Raya. Thank you so much for coming on, sharing all your experiences and your insights and your feedback. I super appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This was so wonderful.
It really
This
was.
is a little self-care. So
Yeah,
my
it was,
guilt-free
right?
hour. So I really appreciate it. Thank you for
Of
having me.
course.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and keep doing what you're doing
Thank
because
you.
it's honestly amazing.
Thank you. Whoever
Well
would like to tune into Raya's podcast, again, the name is They Say It Takes a Village, and it's on Spotify.
Spotify, Apple, Google Play, Amazon,
Sure.
whatever,
So
and
all the
YouTube.
platforms.
Yeah, all.
Perfect. Okay,
to
cool.
whatever you listen to.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Raya.
Thank you, Roy.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
course. Thank you, guys.
Yay! Oh God, I hope that was good. I feel like I rambled.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Oh,
No, not
okay.
at all. That was great. It flowed very smooth.
Yeah,
Didn't
I
have
thought
to stop.
so.
Did I miss anything? No, not really. We kind of touched on all the points.
I hope I did. Did we?
Yeah. I was taking a quick glance every now and then just to look at them, but yeah, it was great.
Really?
How long was the episode? Oh,
Okay,
perfect.
so just
yeah.
an hour.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sorry. Say it again. What do you mean? Oh yeah.
Yeah. Can you take photos?